the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief. The answer to your question is learn the goddamn process, trade your trading plans, don't take too much risk on any one trade, and just let yourself get rich. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief. TGIF. Although I've had better Fridays in my life. Anybody, of course, who's at TRI right now, you'll notice that I was MIA yesterday. And unfortunately, my computer just literally blew up on me. My big computer that I do all my fun work off of. So as a result, I'm kind of flying a little bit blind here, everybody. I really apologize. Not the best showing from the Beamish here today. In fact, kind of like to pride myself on starting on time and being punctual and all that. And of course, you guys can see that we're a bit late here today. So my apologies if you were kind of going, what the hell? What's wrong with this guy? I'm just trying to get YouTube up and running here too, just so I can see if you guys happen to have any questions or comments. I guess we got to say, thankfully, thank goodness, TRI decided to buy Brian a laptop here recently. And I'm operating off of the laptop here today, which is kind of challenging, but bear with me here. So I think I've got the YouTube page up and running here, and I think I've got the Discord chat, and I can see Donnie's here in the room with me, and Mr. Potato Head. I think I prefer my other name, Mr. Toilet Water. But I'll tell you, holy Mr. Toilet Water, wow, what a train wreck that guy is. Just like his old man. And it's so ironic because my old man was a card-carrying conservative right-wing politician. And the stepmother, actually, that the second mother that I had, he had like 3 or 4 wives. Crazy guy. Anyway, she used to actually have Mr. Toilet Water visit her family home in Ottawa because her father was actually a fairly high-level guy in the Liberal Party, which is the left-wing party here in Canada. So, oh man, always contentious whenever I talk to my stepmother about Mr. Toilet Water. Because clearly she's a fan, but anyway. Okay, so let's see what nuggets of wisdom I can impart on you people here today. And as I said, this might be a bit splotchy here, maybe even a little bit weak showing on Brian's part. Please don't take any inference as to today's broadcast is what I normally do here. This is going to be a bad day, but what the hell? We'll try our best. If anything, again, you probably heard me say it before, but I'll say it again. That Chris guy, what a rock star that dude is. He totally just sat there without even question, helping me for geez, probably about a half hour. Well, geez, maybe even an hour here this morning, just trying 100 different things to get the this thing working, my big computer working, and it just is not happy. But anyway,
We still
that's
have
it.
more to do, so it should be
Yeah.
fun after the show.
Hey, there's Casey. Kind of cool to see Casey. Haven't seen you around. Usually we see your wife on the broadcast. Mind you, I haven't seen her too much around either lately. Anyway, good to see you, Casey. Hope the kids are doing well. Okay, so once upon a time in a land far, far away, I'll try and do my best here for a presentation today, guys, like I said. Breadth in the stock market. You can see the stock market breadth kind of rolling over. Interesting how we're not really overbought, though. We're kind of like almost just hovering right at the midpoint. So I wouldn't consider it like a crash scenario in the stock market. And actually, when we were when we were having our Tuesday meeting, our secret options formula club meeting. Sure love meeting with those guys. They're so smart. David, that guy is just an absolute genius. And actually, we pulled up the Nasdaq chart when speaking with him, and of course, I don't have that chart up here, of course. Let's see, where can we do this? Yeah, time's not going to be really that critical here today. This is an absolute train wreck. So, if anything, everybody have fun with me. Yeah, there you go. So, Mehdi's saying, get the fuck off that stupid Bill Gates crap that you use and get over to a real operating system. So that doesn't surprise me. Okay, what was I talking about just a moment ago? Oh yeah, David. And I have to say, I'm actually pretty darn impressed with David. When we looked at the chart here in our Tuesday meeting, right off the bat, David goes, well, I see a megaphone there. So there to there and there to there. So ironically enough, I don't know whether irony is the right word, but this actually wasn't too big of a shock to see what they're doing here today. And then also too, if we think A, B, C, D, you can see that projection wants to take us up against the top of that megaphone top there. Having said that, once we get to that level, then what? Oh, goodness. And unfortunately, I think this has mostly to do with options expiry. Today is a huge options expiry event. This is the Leaps options expiry. I always like to use these barchart.com guys for the options. I think they do a pretty good job. If we look at like the QQQs, where are they motivated to take price? Remember, 95% of all put options are written by institutional players. So this literally is a benchmark for where institutions are willing to actually buy the market, sitting 416.80, up almost 1% on the day here. And do they have any motivation to get this thing up above a certain level? Look at all these puts. Can you see how it was awfully convenient for them to get the market up above here, especially above this 413 level? All of these options all expire worthless. And my hunch is there were a ton of options down below here. So if we go, let's maybe do 20 strikes. Oh my goodness. Wall Street just made out like an absolute bandit here. So, I mean, look at all these 20,000, 18,000, 18,000, 10,000. You can just imagine the amount of money involved here. It's probably in like the tens of billions, probably. So, hopefully, you can see that, a big part of all of this, what you happen to see happening in the market right now, is a big function of this options expiry. There we are. So you can see if they had just let the market go out where it was there, just even the middle of last week, all of those options guys would have been majorly on the hook. But just conveniently come out of nowhere with a big honking rally. Look at that now, 417. I mean, this is almost criminal to be perfectly honest with you. If somebody would actually just look at this and understand what's going on here and the absolute thievery that's going on here, because I mean, let's do a little poll of the audience. What, there's 20, 30 people watching. What's the statistical probability that they'll probably have to bring the market back down and fill in these holes here? And how about this hole? Holy Jesus. How about this hole? How about this hole right here? How about this one? Oh, that one's filled in. How about that hole? I mean, all of these holes will be filled in, even if they had the market go out where it was 2 days ago at 406. This would have been just a massive home run for all of these people that bought all these puts. Well, actually, I guess 406. Well, yeah, 406, 410, right? That put would have been worth $4. And look at it coming into expiry. absolute basically worthless. I mean, God, how I mean, this is just insane how absolutely criminal this is. I hope you guys can see this. If anything, I mean, I don't know how we do this. Can we make a short out of this, Chris? Although I'm sure you probably that's the last thing you need is for more jobs to be handed to you. We got to finish that Bitcoin thing, so maybe we won't do this. But maybe just make an earmark or a note or something in the in our document. The leap's expiry is today, and Brian demonstrated how utterly criminal Wall Street is when it comes to these options. And the sad part about it, right, is you got that little fucking idiot. What's his name? Well, that just opens up a can of worms. I don't know. Where do you want to take this conversation today, Brian? There's a few of them out there. But we got that guy Gensler in charge of the SEC, trying to be like, hey, I'm Mr. Authority and stuff. Keep in mind, all of this, everything that you see on this screen, is completely outside of his regulation, completely outside of anything that he can do about sort of making this fair for Joe Sixpack. So it's just disgusting. Anyway, so there's an interesting note to start the conversation off on today. So I don't know whether I really believe whether we're going to crash here or not. Anybody who's trading the algo, well, you have to be short now. But just understand, algo traders back and forth, back and forth. Really, all you want to do is try and just be positioned. And keep in mind too, this is the S&P 500. This is not the Nasdaq. It's just I noticed that the Nasdaq seems to be sort of the market du jour, the flavor du jour. We could probably also look at the S&P 500. You can see all my funny little day trading, I guess, notations here. All right. Well, I don't want to show. Why don't settings want to show? Settings. Boom. Nope. Yeah. Well, not quite sure why that won't show. Anyway, so I guess we'll use something else here. Let's go. I guess we can just do SPY. Interestingly enough, I don't know whether David, well, yeah, I think you did. I mean, you can kind of see the same megaphone pattern here. Boom, boom, which means we are basically right there at the top. And one, two, three. I wouldn't be surprised if once this sort of euphoria is done, we have to pull back here. I think actually it's like the brick and mortar names that are really, if anything, showing signs of weakness. Yeah. So you can see the Dow has not gotten up top there. Probably find that maybe that pops up Monday and then we come into that level. But we'd also talked before, and unfortunately I just don't have the screen in front of me. But we have talked at length about things like the January barometer and how as January goes, so goes the year. Um, and where are we here? I guess that's the beginning of the year. We'll just eyeball this here. There is the beginning of January, right in there. Yep. Boom. The first hour we found that it sort of dipped down, rallied back up, finished weak. The first day, sort of that whole thing, dip down, rally up, finish relatively weak. Um, First week was a bit of a chop fest, but I suppose you can kind of see down and then finished up. Let's see, where's our first week? That goes to here, the 5th. Yeah, so that was all down. And they say, as January goes, so goes the year, and it works as a pretty good sort of benchmark what to follow, what to expect for the year. So my hunch is, here is the end of the month out here, uh, right there. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have a bit of a swoon and then maybe a rally into the end of the year. But if you've been watching the videos through the first part of the week when the big computer was working, you remember that we had sort of a hump right around the middle in the first hour, the first day, even to a certain degree, the first week, then a pullback, and then a rally into the end of the year. And this would kind of make sense too, because really this is sort of like think of it like by when it. Whoops, that's not going to work. Nice try. You can see this computer's not really. Look at that. I can't. Oh my goodness, this is could be a bit challenging to use. It's interesting how I can't edit that. Hmm. Well, let's try again. Well, like, nope, look at that. So, and I don't even know. Maybe this laptop's a little bit screwy too, but my God, yeah, I don't know what it is today. I'm having major computer problems. Year, this here, settings. Yeah, see, look at that. Doesn't work. Nothing. But I can delete it. So, yeah, I don't know. Is Mercury in retrograde? Anyway, on to the next conversation. Um, where should we take the next conversation? What's sort of happening in the world today? It is interesting getting a whole bunch of cross currents. Can't see how the Fed could possibly lower interest rates in the face of this. This does not make any sense at all. U.S. consumer sentiment jumps to 2021 highs. So in essence, the consumers are back happy as they were following that huge injection of stimulus into the economy there, following the sickness nonsense. And they're right back up that happy, regardless of how much the Fed has raised short-term interest rates. So can't see how the Fed would have any reason whatsoever to lower interest rates. And this has basically been my message to all of you for quite some time. That the United States of America is the last place in the world you should be looking for economic weakness right now. Um, and of course, if you talk to the public, this is all they can think about is when's a recession coming in the U.S. Well, it ain't coming anytime soon. I can tell you that much, by crackers. If anything, it's kind of good to see the housing industry kind of calming down a bit. You never ever want any one particular sector of the economy to represent more than about 35% of the economy. When you get into that situation, that's a bubble. And a great example was a company called Nortel Networks, represented 35% of the Canadian stock market at the top of the dot-com bubble. And that was only because they bought a San Francisco networking company called Bay Networks. And so they literally injected themselves into the build out of the internet, this whole sort of networking build out, Cisco and all that. And within 4 or 5 years after the dot com bust, Nortel Networks was bankrupt. So, you need to understand that. So, if anything, it's good to see the US housing industry is slowly coming off the cliff. And we're not really in that bubble kind of environment anymore. I think a lot of the speculative fervor will be taken out of the housing industry. And probably over the next 5, 10 years, you're going to hear things like Airbnbs are going to be taxed up the ass. And the hotel industry is probably going to be like, hey, we're still here. I do see lots of anecdotal evidence that hotels are slowly turning themselves into Airbnbs. So that kind of demand for housing might wane. Of course, interest rates moving up, that's going to obviously hurt this short-term sort of speculative fervor in that part of the market. If anything, I've said this repeatedly. I mean, again, Canadian retail sales seen sharply higher in December. How can the central planners justify lowering interest rates in the face of that? You can't. This is it. The issue here is more about the collapsing purchasing power of these currencies than it is about any particular sort of bubble in economies. Um, Unless, of course, you're talking about something like China, which was just a fraud probably for the past 10 years. So that's now all finally unwinding. And I hear that life in Russia right now is just an absolute nightmare. People are like literally freezing to death in their homes. Huge cities are like without power. There's all of this sort of people that would work on infrastructure. making sure that because they use a lot of steam to sort of heat housing and stuff there. A lot of the sort of main pipelines, if you will, for the steam in cities are bursting. People are being flooded out of their homes with boiling water in minus 20, 30-degree weather. I mean, it's an absolute worst case nightmare. And I've said to you again, this is a reiteration. The countries that you should expect to collapse and should be real shit shows are anything that's to do with the fear cycle apex, and that's all about the commodity countries. So Russia, what a fucking shit show. And frankly speaking, it's probably a downhill slide now for the next 20 years. Um, Australia has actually been pretty quiet. We haven't heard too much out of Australia these days. And then, of course, you hear Brian being in China ranting daily about the collapsing standard of living here. So, woohoo, party. And I don't see anything that's going to change all this, folks. I think it's going to be exactly the same story. Is interesting to see one of the biggest beneficiaries of the US economy doing relatively well here, I think is all about Japan. And Japan, I mean, literally on a daily basis, we pull up this damn sheet and you see Japan's up another 1%, another 2%, another 1%, another 2%, just cranking higher day after day after day. So, and I do remember hearing about things like Billy Gates and Druckenmiller. Actually, I don't know so much about Gates. I think he's all in love with Mexico and probably Epstein prodigies. But I know Druckenmiller, a guy I highly, highly respect in this world. He's been uber bullish of Japan here, and of course, he's making a killing. You remember back in last summer, I was touting names like Toyota Motor Company. Man, if you had done a spread trade on buying Toyota and shorting Tesla, oh my goodness, you would have made a fortune. Anyway, so the point of the matter here is Japan just keeps rocking it. And I wouldn't be surprised if this continues. I mean, you tell me, is that a bullish looking chart or what? If anything, if you're a TRIer and you look at this, you go, that's a bullish bullet. And we should be able to come up with actually pretty realistic price objectives somewhere up here. That's doing my highly professional, highly scientific technical analysis methodology. Somewhere up here around this AU frame reference. That's your price objective. But gee whiz, look at that chart. It's just so pretty. So, ironically enough, you want to know where the hot market is? It's Japan right now. Anyway. And actually, this should bode well because the Japanese, for all you crypto kids, because the Japanese, they like crypto, right? They've been into crypto for quite a while. In fact, actually, one of my favorite cryptocurrencies from the 17 cycle was Luna. I wouldn't be surprised if that thing has another day in the sun. And they love Hello Kitty and stuff like that over in Japan. So anyway, if you guys on the site happen to know of Japanese cryptocurrency stories, I think that's going to be super super popular. I don't really like what I'm seeing out of Korea here these days. I would be bullish of South Korea, but they have really pumped quite a bit. And this guy over in North Korea, I think he really, really wants to start a war up again here. So, and the poor kids in South Korea, totally unfair. I mean, how are you supposed to North Korean teen gets 12 years hard labor for watching K-pop. Oh, what fucking dickheads. Like you heard me say recently how I like Chinese people as much as the next guy, like Japanese, like Koreans, like Indonesians. Asian people are not my concern. What I don't like are totalitarian dictatorships. And I don't know what it is about the Asian societies, but they love these totalitarian dictatorships. Or maybe they just can't get rid of them. I don't know. But I have an extreme hatred for that idiot up there in North Korea. That guy's a fucking douchebag. And I'm probably painting a bullseye on my head, but this is such an insult to humanity, this shit. God. And you hear me rant about China. Well, it's because They're no different than this asshole. Stupid CCP. Anyway, blah blah blah. Um, what's going on here in North America, right? Like what I said. And of course, sadly, the European theater is really nasty with that Russian idiot running around murdering gazillions of people in Eastern Europe. So the European situation isn't really that great. And I might argue that the Asian and the European sort of economic sectors are going to unwind here as North America comes charging back. And as I said there a moment ago, Japan likes to service that American market. So I think Japan does very well through all this. So Canadian actually that's a pretty nasty number there out of Canada here this morning, down 0.5%. So a little bit of a disconnect with what we saw of the headlines there. I guess you could suppose that the Bank of Canada could justify that sort of quantitative easing that we've seen happen recently, based on the fact that these numbers are as ugly as they are. There's the Americans, pretty strong consumer sentiment number, like I said there earlier. And actually, it might just be interesting to see. You tell me, what letter of the alphabet do you see on your screen there? And should we maybe be, I don't know, extrapolating anything out of that data set? Andre says hunting Monex Group. What does that say? 8698 on Tokyo Exchange. All right, there you go. I am in ELWS. I don't even have my glasses here, so I can't even see what this says. From Andre, Japan crypto story. All right, there you go. Um, yeah, all right. So Reg is chatting up a storm about Bitcoin. Bitcoin tastes great. And there's Adam. Adam made a post about my gap theory, all that kind of stuff. So anyway. All right, so you should all look at this, and I didn't see anybody comment here. Not a single person. I mean, come on, folks. What letter of the alphabet do you see here? And what should we extrapolate for the US consumer? Is the US consumer doing okay? The US consumer stressed out? Looks to me like they're just getting going, ain't it? Should we be thinking about maybe US consumer stocks? Like, what are the kind of companies that would benefit if we had a happy consumer down in the States? Yeah, I think you got to respect that message. That's a hell of a message. Yeah, it sure is. It's a big ass W. And, in the face of this, is the Fed going to lower interest rates? I mean, let's try and put two and two together here, right? There's no way in hell the Fed's going to lower rates in the face of that. So, anyway, and it's fascinating how over the past 6, 8 months, all you've heard from the damn fucking talking heads on YouTube and stuff is how everything's about to collapse. Come on. So anyway, they got that completely wrong. Heading on over, looking at the broader market, as we said, stock market seems to be catching a bid. Hugely corrupt day. Of course, all about that damn options expiry. I don't know whether we can justify moving higher in earnest here. I think that the stock market itself was moving higher in earnest because of the anticipation of the Fed actually lowering rates. But like I said, with that kind of data that you saw today, I don't see how they can lower rates. One thing, though, that did jump out at me here, though, recently, and keep in mind, we are technically in a commodity bear market now. But one thing that is jumping out at me recently is the crude oil is not very happy here. So big fat M coming in here through options expiry day here today. And you can see that the crude, looking at the spot market, we're a shadow of our former selves. I think a lot of the market is worried about whether crude actually bottoms here, starts cranking back up. But I've been noticing of late that crude's it runs into these big fat M's up at the top end of the range and starts breaking. So you can see crude's breaking this up. That's probably another reason why the stocks are actually catching a bit, especially things like tech stocks. I don't know whether you're aware or not, but usually purchasing managers have a choice of either putting money into energy, keeping gas in the cars, keeping the heat on in the buildings, keeping the lights on in the buildings and the factories, keeping the machinery running, blah, blah, blah. And if energy prices are really high, they got to take that money from somewhere. And usually it's productivity investment that they have to sacrifice to make sure that the heat stays on in the wintertime, of course. And then vice versa, if energy prices are lower, then that means people can invest in technology with the extra money to improve productivity, which improves profits. So we are technically in a commodity bear cycle now. That started in 2018. Of course, this whole sickness and Klaus's great reset has completely clouded all of this. But I do believe that this crude oil market, I wouldn't even be surprised, to be honest with you, that crude's back down, hovering single digits by the end of this cycle. And they'll just blame it on the fact that governments have mandated populations. Like here in Canada, I think it will actually be illegal to sell a car that runs on gasoline by like 2035, if I'm not mistaken. And that's an interesting correspondence because that's basically our next greed cycle peak is 2035. So my hunch here is that oil prices probably hit their ultimate lows. And keep in mind, oil prices did hit their lows when you know who was getting blowjobs in the White House. Do you guys remember those days? Those were sure fun. Back here, right? Monica Suck My Dicky, I think she was called, something like that. Sukiyaki Kutsuki. Anyway, demonetized. There you go, in your face. And that's what Bill said. In your face. Actually, it was more on her dress, wasn't it? Not in her face. Chris is like, I got to do something. I got to slow him down. He's good. he's he's going off on. He's going off the deep end. Somebody throw him a life vest. He's about to sink himself. Actually, I like that over on YouTube. Cole goes, "You just made my day, man." So that's good. Demonetized. Of course, Big Brother absolutely hates me, but our core users love me. What do you think, Meg? Was that too graphic for you? My apologies. I do see her on the call here, though. So, hey, good to see we got Meg back in the house. So, anyway, in a weird sort of way, you can kind of see how cycle bottoms correspond with my, fear and greed cycles. And really, our next big greed cycle peak should come somewhere right around here, 2035. So, uh-oh, now I'm getting the PMs. I'm in trouble. I bet you somebody's going to be like, oh, you just went over the line, mister. So, anyway, point of the matter here, and actually interesting, you can see, and actually, I'd say, oh, I guess this is on a clothesline basis. Remember through the sickness and all that, they actually took this thing down to like minus 20, $30 or something like that. Oh, Nick says, nope, complimenting your thoughts. Uh-oh. Who's Sean Strickland? I don't know who that is, but I have a funny feeling that's probably not a reference I want to be associated with. All right. So, and in a weird sort of way, you can kind of see, right? Can you see? Keep in mind, this is a very, very long-term chart. But can you see? Oh, Jesus. I swear. And you know what this is all about? You know what this is all about? I'll tell you what this is all about. In Vancouver here, we just had Snowmageddon. And I'm such a cheap ass. Like we only have Snowmageddon like literally 1 week a year. And I don't want to, I really don't drive that much. The only time I drive is to go pick Liam up and escort him around the city and just give him a nice tour twice a week because he loves car rides. So we just had Snowmageddon, and I haven't bothered to buy snow tires for the car because I'm such a cheap ass. So I was like, yeah, you know what? We'll put our visit on hold today. So I didn't go and visit him yesterday. So what does God do to punish me? He absolutely kills me with these computers. So my apologies, God, Jojo. I'm sure you guys are not impressed with the fact that I let Liam down yesterday. Anyway, maybe my formal apology will maybe make them a little happier. So anyway, point of the matter here is you can kind of see A, B, C, D, and I do like oil coming back down into these lows. There's your 2008 financial crisis. There is, the made up nonsense sickness bullshit, garbage, great reset crap. And if I understand correctly, they're going to come out with another great sickness, X disease that no doctors have ever heard of. But the World Economic Forum is going to ram it down our throats as a justification for continuing their great reset bullshit. I think the tea leaves are trying to speak to us coming in and actually investing in crude oil here at these levels. Actually, historically, that's not really cheap. It's actually pretty expensive, ironically enough. Anyway, moving on. I'm having fun blabbing with you guys here today. Let's talk a little Bitcoin. Bitcoin. Actually, this is a chart I haven't talked to you guys about in a while. But, for all those people that really want to try and learn how to time your purchases a little bit better in the marketplace and like really be serious about this. Um, you can clearly see, this is the NVT network value per transaction, I think that's called. Can't remember what NVT stands for. But anytime this indicator gets up in the red zone, you got to be careful. You're just asking for trouble. And then, of course, if we actually get the indicator crossing over the moving average here, then we're in deeper doo-doo. And then if you get like market structure, M's are bearish, W's are bullish, then we're in even more hot water. And so look at what we just went through here, folks. And really, I might even argue that the network still isn't really happy. You want to see it go down into this sort of dark shaded level and then get the moving average cross to actually say that, yeah, you know what, this is a pretty good time to be a buyer and investor in Bitcoin. Even this move here, kind of suspect because you notice that we instantly turned red on this indicator. So really, I might argue from like an investor's perspective that you probably want to just leave this thing alone until the network gets happy again. Um, the chart itself, man, we banged up against what I would consider a really, really significant technical level. We cleaned out the institutional fingerprint, all those stops that were just against that high. Where did the previous bear stop this little bull run and start the down move? That was all through here. And so this literally becomes like a magnet for price. If there's any kind of bullishness whatsoever in the marketplace, the bulls will literally go after this level right here because they know there's a whole bunch of stop loss or liquidity against that level right there. So what did they do into this exchange traded fund offering? Which, frankly speaking, really doesn't have a hell of a lot to do with actual Bitcoins themselves. Doesn't really have anything to do with Satoshi or anything of his white paper or any sort of use case scenario of Bitcoins as an alternative. This is all just about Wall Street trying to cash in on this phenomenon, this ETF stuff. And of course, Mr. ETF, the biggest ETF dickhead around there, came out last summer and he started beating the drums. You guys remember that last summer? He's like, I want a Bitcoin ETF. And we were heading down, and I was on vacation, and we just had our seasonal peak, sell in May and walk away. And then all of a sudden, the market just pivoted on a dime because this doofus came on CNBC and was like, hey, I want my Bitcoin ETF, damn it. And literally, that set the base for this fall, early winter rally. And guess what? They now have all their ETFs. I sure hope you bastards are happy. And the irony of it all is if you actually look at how all of this has gone, unfortunately, it hasn't gone very well, folks. They always say you can always judge the issue based on how it performs right out of the gate. You know, is it massively bought or is it massively sold? I thought I had on here all my stock list, but anyway, let's see. We'll go over here. And you can see, and actually, I think they're catching a bit of a bid here today. But I think we talked about this in recent videos as well. I don't know whether I did it with the public or not, but oh yeah, look at that. So they're actually all catching a bit of a bid here. So if anything, they're probably feeling a little bit better. But these things, if we use, Fink's proxy here, I mean, look at that. Holy crap on a stick. I think probably the big thing is this BITO. We talked to maybe in the after party. We'll go look at the options and see where these guys make out like bandits. I think we had said that the average right price, the heaviest open interest was in the $18 calls, and it looked like they did them for about $2, the sort of average right price. So if they take it out at $20, that's just sort of like a wash for all of them. And if anything, look at this. This is just straight line down. At the very least, we should be thinking dead cat bounces at some point. And actually, you know what this reminds me of is that ICT guy. I think I see his little setup here in my sleep. But I think you can make the argument that that's a market structure shift there where we literally were making higher highs and higher lows. And all of a sudden now we're making lower highs and lower lows. And I think you can make the argument that dead cat bounces. I think this will be his fair value gap idea. And interestingly enough, I think that probably that corresponds with that price gap really nicely right in there. So something along those lines is probably that fair value gap kind of concept. And what do you think the odds are that if we do a fib from this low back up to this high, the reload zone is going to be right in this area here? And probably this gap, we all know what the statistical probability gaps should be filled in, right? It should be our sort of counter trend rally target. So there to there. And lo and behold, look at that, right on good old Mountain Man, that gap right there. I don't know whether they can get it up through here, but we could make the argument that that's probably a pretty significant resistance point. So I certainly wouldn't suggest to anybody to go and short Bitcoin or any of these ETFs here. Of course, from their IPO event, they're now down a good, Jesus, what is that? Like 10, almost 20%. So, the sad part about it is the talking heads, they're going to love this over on CNBC. Oh, yeah, look at that great Bitcoin thing. It's down, like 18% from its IPO peak. We all know that things got a little stupid there. In fact, on the site I was showing site members, really great anecdote of the public coming in and panic buying with the counters ratio that you can find on Tensor's charts site. Really, really good illustration of that. In fact, I'll probably use it in the education program going forward because it was such a good example of order flow. And that idea that the public always, buys the top, sells the bottom, and that counters ratio is a really, really good way to see the public being just as stupid as they always are. So, having said that, dead cat bounces back into reload zones. That's if I was going to short this stuff, that's the area that I would short, which basically implies you could very easily see a 10% rally in Bitcoin price here, no problem. Probably if we look at, if we look at the weekly price chart, are we supposed to think something if we ever see these big honking wicks up here like this? Wicks and tails like to what? So you could argue there's a whole bunch of trap bulls in there that if we can get any kind of counter trend rally back up top there, oh my God, they are so going to get the hell out of there. There you go. Thank you, AM. They like to get eaten. That's right. And also, too, you can see on the weekly chart, we're actually starting to approach moving average support here. Finally. I mean, this was brutal just watching this tick higher and higher and higher. and seeing all these moving averages getting wider and wider, knowing that at some point this thing's going to have to puke out and close this gap. You can see 13 EMA is starting to flatten out. But what we should see happen is you should see that 13 EMA act as pretty damn good support. Now, do we have to stab through it and then come back up? Sometimes you see that. But my hunch is that's probably a pretty significant pivot area there. And wouldn't it make sense? I mean, doesn't this kind of look like maybe this is like some sort of huge fractal top here? Right? I could very easily see something like that. Candle body highs for trade location. If you, whoops, that's kind of sloppy. If you did want to short, and especially with that peak right there, I like a level right up in that area. And also, too, like we said, if we do a fib, probably that's closer to the 50% level, but it's probably maybe it's near good old Mountain Man. Let's see what we got here. Reload zones, bang, there you go. All right, so a rally back up against that high right there, right? That peak right there would be that Mountain Man level. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's kind of a bit of a cockeyed head and shoulders, though. I do kind of like this area right in here as sort of your resistance zone. And then, like we said, on the ETFs, there's lots of reason to look for a rally back up top there. And then there's also a lot of reasons to look for resistance here. But down here, unfortunately, who's going to be selling down here as we start approaching kilos? And hopefully you can see these lows should act as major support, that low right there. Oh, look at what we did here this morning. What a coincidence, right? And that low there. You know, if I was doing up my 4-hour charts for futures trading, right, I would just simply do those up and I would say that I can buy there. Of course, with all my computers problems right now, no futures trading today. I'm in the penalty box right now, so anyway, it is what it is. So really, it shouldn't surprise anybody. So if you were thinking about actually taking a trade here, if this is trade location, step one, what should step two be? Well, that should be, well, do we have any indicator confirmation that maybe we're getting a little oversold and divergent and all that kind of stuff? And did Willie get oversold? Not quite oversold. Well, it might mean we could use a dip lower. Ooh, and not really much of a divergence here. A little bit of a div. Now, if this thing perks up, so maybe through the weekend we play around with this level a little bit more. But I do see RSI trying to W out. Well, of course, we all know the rule about when RSI Ws. Bears should probably cool their jets. And actually, I'm a little surprised at that because you can see here when we originally dumped into these levels, you can see the little divs started to form. RSI started to div out here. Willie was stupidly oversold, and that sort of set the stage so that, wasn't much, but dead cat bounce. If anything, what I'm worried about on a chart like this, and the fact that those internals don't really look too bullish, so I wouldn't be surprised if this is some sort of bearish bot. So, oh no, look at that. So we never did do 33. So no, we can't call that bot. Sorry, I'll take that back. So now, if we are thinking bearish bot, interesting, look at that. So 200 SMA lines up with this horizontal support and resistance level, which lines up with the 33. If we are thinking trend continuation pattern, like A to B. Oh, geez, that's not very good. Let's try that again. A to B, and then clone that. C to D, wherever the hell that is. And of course, Mountain Man was up here. That ICT guy is fair value gap. That sure looks like that in there. Then really, I would actually expect Bitcoins to try and work their way up into this area, 45,000 over the next week or so. Yeah, and there's that previous peak, and there's that previous peak, right? That's right into that area. So I don't really have enough to justify a trade. Certainly don't have any price structure. Divergence is not really that compelling. So I think I'd probably actually, believe it or not, just leave this alone here. Finish off this conversation with you all in the public. Now, you should look at this chart and you should go, oh, shit, eh? Do we have location? Unfortunately, I didn't have my like I got rid of all my or not got rid of my computer crashed. So I don't have all my fancy schmancy chart levels that I normally have on this chart. But I think if I'm not mistaken, we have talked about like the broader crypto market. And I think this is that's not what I wanted. I think this is a really good example of Collins' dump chaser zone. So, technically speaking, rallies into 38.2s. We should expect that at any given point in time. That's just the way this game goes. And 50% levels, of course, are a great sort of keep it simple, stupid technical objective tool. If you had bought the W's down here and you use this zone as your profit taking level, of course, you got great 2 to 1, 3 to 1, 4 to 1, especially that W right there. We could also make the argument that this sure looks like a man. Yeah, it looked like a man. Anybody remember what show that's from? That'll date you if you can tell me what that show is. It looked like a man. Anyway, A to B, C to D. So up in this area, we should have been thinking tops anyway. And really, I think, you know what this is? This looks to me like an alt AB equals CD. So that is there to there. And we'll go, well, we can do bot setup. So, of course, it's always backwards. Backwards. Boom, boom, boom. So we did 33. And of course, remember we said this was Mr. Fink's crazy, I want a Bitcoin ETF low. Nice double bottom. And then we do Alt A, B, C, D. So we'll do bot trade. And of course, it's always backwards. And we'll flip it around. And right up into 127s and 1.618s. We can also do things like chaos theory, go there to there. And of course, the only reason why I'm drawing all this out is because I wanted to show you guys, but unfortunately, I don't have my regular charts up and running. There's 2.618. So again, there's another sort of technical reason to call location. And I don't know, you guys tell me, what letter of the alphabet do we see happening here now repeatedly? So this looks very bothersome. Huge bearish confirmed momentum divergence. And actually, I think this is actually a really good example of double D's. You know how much that Beamish guy loves those double D's. So we got a breakdown of this huge M on this event, and we have a breakdown of this M on this event. Ay caramba. That's like a double punch in the nose. You literally got punched in the nose by double D's. Imagine if you actually got a black eye because some woman punched you in the face with her big boobs. Well, that's exactly what just happened in the market. Was Dolly Parton just came up and punched you in the, in the nose. All right. So enough rhetoric. The point of the matter here is you can see all the momentum indicators are all rolling over. If anything, a great analogy. Wow, Willie is stupid up here. We're not really allowed to be buyers. Now that the market is finally cleaning itself up, I'd hate to say it too. Did we start getting M's through 50 lines? That definitely looks pretty darn important to me. So this right here, all this failure in here is anecdotal evidence that we are breaking down through 50 lines. And so we are officially in correction mode. And we can't even we can't even stop being bearish until we actually start seeing a W in this thing. And I don't know how long this is going to take. It's a daily chart. This might take a week or two before we even see any anecdotal evidence that we should stop being bearish. Not let alone being bullish, just stop being bearish. Then, of course, your next W, the second W, that will actually be a buy signal, kind of like what you see here. This huge M, and then, of course, you see all these little M's all in here. But this huge M is that second M, which is a huge bearish signal there. Yuck. So put it all together, and it kind of makes sense, really. Remember, Brian's usually right, but Brian's usually early. I've been cautioning people about how we're near the end of this big sort of counter trend rally event window with Bitcoin. Really no shock here whatsoever. Mountain man levels, institutional fingerprints. I don't know whether we hit this AB equals CD or beg your pardon, inverted head and shoulders objective. I think we did. The one thing that actually surprised me that we never did was hit 50,000. That did surprise me. But especially when it comes to things like the broader crypto market, I mean, we've had some of these names just go absolutely crazy. About a year or so ago, I was barking, get your shit together, get your act together, get your plan together, get your money together, just get your skirt together and get ready. And literally, what we just saw over the past year was all the people that got their skirts together and were good, crypto citizens and did everything that they were supposed to do. And they made out like bandits. I wanted to show you, some of Sjord's names. I mean, gee whiz, this is like 60, 70 cents. It worked its way all the way up to $5. That's almost 10x. His routes. I mean, look at this thing. Just there in October, it was like $1.80, made its way all the way up to like $8, $9. And Rune, same thing. This thing was $1 and made its way all the way up to $7. So nobody has any excuse that they didn't make any money here. They didn't have the opportunity to make money over the past year. But that window is now closing, folks. It's done for now. And now we actually have to go through the process of cleaning all of this up. And of course, we've got the big halvening event coming up here in April. You could actually make the argument that the public now is going to be encouraged to buy Bitcoins and buy these ETFs through this halvening event. Usually they say that these things top out about a month or so ahead of the halvening event window. And oh, gee whiz, look at what we got coming up here. We got one of Cole's eclipse windows. So, in a weird sort of way, especially with the fact that 50,000 has not been hit, I would not be surprised if they do something like rump and then rump and then rump, and you're done. And you're done. So, looking for some sort of short term pivot here in the short term, but just understand the context of where we are given the big cycles. And we're coming up awfully close to this halvening event. Once the halvening event's out of the way, then really, I think we need to go through a serious seasonal correction, which probably takes us back down into windows that I could actually buy. I couldn't buy Bitcoin right here. And unfortunately, with regard to a lot of altcoins, I can't touch them here either. So I'm just in a big hurry up and do nothing mode right now. Having fun banging out doubles on things like shoot coins. I guess we'll call them well, is it 12 minutes after 10? I've been blabbing away for an hour and a half here. Oh well. All right. Well, you guys all there on YouTube, you got an extra special treat considering it was Friday. So we can always pop in and do a little bit of continuing on. We don't have a special guest in the after party here today, but if we want to do like a little AMA and just a little interaction with the kids that are on the site in the lounge, we can spend, I don't know, hour or so here just chit-chatting in the lounge and reviewing names if you're interested. Chris also says, don't forget, I'm supposed to do something, right? Tell people how do you actually sign up for the after party? Is that what we're supposed to do? Keep in mind the after party, and I actually don't even know what I'm supposed to show you here, but I do know that our marketing department wanted me to reference this. The after party, what's supposed to happen here is they're supposed to have about a 15-minute public show. Nice shot, Brian. Way to go. Then we're supposed to go over to the after party. Of course, today I've been very, very discombobulated. I didn't really get much sleep last night, so not really following the program very well today. But come on over. I guess you can also sign up for a free trial. So you can do like 30-day trial, kick the tires. What do they do in the after party? Is it worth joining just the basic site membership? Which I think it is. It's like $20 a month kind of idea. And then, of course, if you want access to all of our fun tools and stuff, the pro membership, which gives you access to the dashboard and our signaling systems and all the screeners and stuff, that's about $80-$90 a month or so. So, if you want to come and join the after party, come on over. Try it. You can try it for free, and we'll see you in a few minutes as soon as I'm done talking. All right. Have yourselves a great day. We'll try and hook up with the everybody on the Broiler Chicken Show on Sunday. And wish me luck on trying to get my big computer back up and running. I got some major problems, and I might have lost a lot of information here because my computer is not happy. But oh well, I got to roll with the punches, right? All right, everybody, have yourselves a great day. PMA for the win. Slow and steady wins the race. Don't take no win nickels. Remember what your number one job is. The only left prize is. Bye for now.